My sister stole my fiancé. Now I'm engaged to her crush and maid of honor at her wedding. It's the kind of sentence that would make excellent clickbait, except it's not clickbait when it's your actual life. The words rattle in my skull like loose change as I stare at the embossed invitation card between my trembling fingers, its gold lettering catching the afternoon sunlight streaming through my apartment window. The heavy cardstock feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. Amelia and Jacob. My sister and the man who, 6 months ago, was going to be my husband. The man whose ring I wore for 2 years. The man who looked me in the eyes and told me he'd never loved me, not the way he loved her. I trace my finger over the raised lettering, feeling each curve and line like a fresh wound. My stomach clenches as if I've swallowed broken glass. Even now, after everything, seeing their names together sends a cold rush through my body. But the ice in my veins isn't just pain anymore. The text message from Amelia flashes across my phone screen. Will you be my maid of honor? I know it's a lot to ask, but you're my only sister, and it would mean the world to me. A laugh escapes me, sharp and brittle as I toss the invitation onto my coffee table. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking audacity. But then, Amelia has always taken what she wanted with a smile, believing her apologies afterward made everything okay. I haven't actually given her an answer yet. Not officially. But Tyler knows. Tyler, with his knowing green eyes and quiet understanding. Tyler, who's been in love with my sister since high school. Tyler, who listened to me cry for weeks after discovering them together. Tyler, who now slides his grandmother's emerald ring onto my finger whenever we're in public, his hand warm against mine. When I look at the emerald on my left hand, I feel a flutter that's not entirely fake. It's all strategic, of course, a performance carefully constructed for maximum impact. But sometimes when Tyler's fingers lace through mine, I forget that this is all part of the plan. That's dangerous. I can't afford to forget, not when we're so close to the finale. I still remember the day I caught them together. It wasn't dramatic. No walking in on them in bed or catching a kiss. It was worse somehow. Just Amelia's hand on Jacob's arm in my kitchen, the familiar way she leaned into him, and the look they exchanged that told me everything. A look that said they'd been keeping secrets. A look that said I was the outsider in my own relationship. The confrontation came later that night. Jacob's practiced speech about growing apart and unexpected connections, how sorry he was, how he never meant to hurt me, how sometimes love just happens. The words blur together in my memory, but the physical pain remains crystal clear. The way my chest constricted until I couldn't breathe, how my skin felt too tight, how the floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. I didn't scream, didn't throw things. I just stood there, wedding planning binder still open on the table between us, staring at the man I thought I knew. It's Amelia, isn't it? My voice had been so calm it surprised even me. The flicker of guilt across his face was confirmation enough. He didn't even have the decency to lie. That night, I sat in my bathtub fully clothed until the water went cold, watching my engagement ring catch the light as I turned it over and over in my fingers. By morning, my grief had crystallized into something harder, something with edges. Amelia called the next day, her voice wavering between apology and euphoria. I listened as she explained how they'd tried to fight their feelings, how guilty they both felt, how they never wanted to hurt me. She actually seemed to expect forgiveness, as if betrayal was just another sisterly squabble to be resolved over brunch. I gave her what she wanted. Forgiveness. Understanding. I told her I wanted her to be happy. I told her these things happen. I told her we would always be sisters. And with every reassurance, I felt myself splitting in two. The person saying these things and the person watching from somewhere else. Planning. The worst part was that I meant some of it. I did want her to be happy once. That's what makes hatred so complicated. It grows in the soil of love. It took 3 days of methodical planning before I reached out to Tyler. We'd never been close. He was just my sister's high school friend who occasionally showed up at family gatherings, nursing his unrequited feelings for Amelia while she remained oblivious. But I knew he would understand better than anyone. Our first meeting at the corner cafe was awkward, stilted. I laid out my proposition between sips of too bitter coffee, watching his expression shift from confusion to understanding, to a slow, careful consideration. You want us to pretend to date? To get back at them? His voice was neutral, but I could see the calculation behind his eyes. Not just date. Get engaged. I pushed my mug away, leaning forward. Amelia has always wanted what she can't have. You know that better than anyone. A flush crept up his neck, but he didn't deny it. And what do I get out of this arrangement? I remember smiling then, a real smile despite everything. The chance to make her realize what she missed. The chance to be the one who walks away this time. He agreed that day. What started as a mutual vendetta has evolved into something more complex over the last 3 months. Our public appearances carefully staged, each photo on social media meticulously composed to showcase our apparent happiness. The way Tyler looks at me in those photos sometimes makes me forget this isn't real. It's working better than I could have hoped. Amelia calls more often now, her voice pitched slightly higher when she asks about Tyler. Jacob studies me when he thinks I'm not looking, confusion evident in the furrow of his brow. They expected me broken. Instead, they got me radiant, showcasing my evident happiness with the man my sister once rejected. The engagement announcement was Tyler's idea, a calculated escalation designed to coincide with their wedding preparations. The look on Amelia's face when she saw the ring, shock quickly masked by sisterly excitement, was worth every moment of planning. What neither of them knows is how Tyler and I spend our private evenings, combing through wedding magazines not for inspiration, but for reconnaissance, comparing notes on Amelia's preferences, creating a blueprint for our performance as the perfect, supportive future in-laws. There's an intimacy to conspiracy that sometimes feels more genuine than the relationship I had with Jacob. Tyler understands my need for revenge in a way no one else could. He lived with his own version of it for years, watching Amelia flit from boyfriend to boyfriend while keeping him firmly in the friend category. We're bound by our mutual wounds, but also by something that's beginning to feel dangerously like actual affection. Today marks 6 weeks until their wedding. 6 weeks until I stand beside my sister in a sage green bridesmaid dress, smiling beatifically as she marries the man who was supposed to be my husband. 6 weeks until Tyler and I execute the final phase of our plan. I pick up the invitation again, running my thumb across the embossed flowers. Amelia always did have exquisite taste. The wedding will be perfect. I've made sure of it by steering her toward all the right vendors through seemingly innocuous suggestions. The perfect setting for a perfect comeuppance. My phone buzzes with a text from Tyler. Dinner with them tonight still on? I type back a quick confirmation, my stomach tightening at the thought of another evening of performance. These double dates are exercises in restraint, smiling through stories of their relationship while strategically dropping hints about our own fabricated happiness. Tyler's hand on my knee under the table, squeezing gently whenever he senses my composure slipping. I've become an excellent actress. Sometimes I wonder if I was always playing a role, even with Jacob, being the supportive girlfriend, the perfect fiancé, molding myself around his life. Perhaps that's why it was so easy for him to leave. He never really knew me at all. The real me is emerging now, shaped by betrayal into someone harder, more deliberate. Someone who plans 3 steps ahead and catalogs weaknesses like collecting shells on a beach. Someone who can sit across from her sister and the man who broke her heart and smile without a trace of the storm raging beneath her skin. Tonight will be another performance, another opportunity to lay groundwork. I select my outfit with care, the forest green dress that makes my eyes look the same shade as Tyler's, the delicate gold necklace Jacob gave me for our first anniversary. Small details that burrow under their skin without them understanding why. Tyler arrives at 6, looking unfairly handsome in dark jeans and a button-down that brings out the copper highlights in his hair. There's a moment, just a flash, when our eyes meet and something unscripted passes between us. Then it's gone, and we're back to our carefully choreographed routine. Ready for tonight? His voice is soft, intimate in a way that makes my heart skip despite myself. I nod, reaching for my purse to hide the sudden tremor in my hands. Just another scene in the play? His fingers brush mine as he helps me with my coat. You know, sometimes I forget we're pretending. The words hang between us, dangerous in their honesty. I choose not to acknowledge them. Can't afford to, not with the finish line in sight. The restaurant is Amelia's choice, upscale Italian with mood lighting dim enough to hide the tension simmering at our table. They're already seated when we arrive, Amelia waving enthusiastically while Jacob's smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. My sister looks beautiful, of course. She always does. Her blonde hair catches the light in a way mine never has, her laugh musical enough to turn heads at nearby tables. Jacob watches her with unmistakable adoration, but I catch the way his gaze flickers to me and Tyler, to our linked hands, with something like confusion. The charade begins the moment we sit down. Amelia launches into wedding details, each word a tiny dagger that Tyler deflects by drawing attention to our own engagement. His thumb traces circles on my palm under the table, a silent reassurance that steadies my breathing. "We were thinking a winter wedding," Tyler says, looking at me with practiced adoration. "Claire has always loved the snow." It's a lie. I hate the cold, but Jacob's slight frown tells me he's registered the fabrication, wondering if he ever really knew me at all. Good. Let him question everything. Amelia leans forward, eyes bright with forced enthusiasm. "That will be so beautiful. Maybe we could help with planning after our honeymoon? We're going to the Maldives." The last part added like an afterthought, a reminder of their perfectness. "That's where Claire and I went last summer, remember?" Tyler's lie is smooth, confident. "We've never traveled together, but the photos I posted from my solo trip after the breakup served our narrative perfectly." Another calculated move in our game. I watch as Amelia's smile falters slightly. She didn't know about my trip, too wrapped up in her new romance to notice my absence. Jacob shifts uncomfortably, no doubt remembering that he was supposed to accompany me on that vacation. The evening progresses like this, casual conversation laced with deliberate landmines. We discuss their wedding, offering well-intentioned suggestions we know will plant seeds of doubt. Tyler mentions a recent scandal with their chosen photographer. I express concern about their venue's reliability during their scheduled month. Nothing outright negative, just enough to create hairline fractures in their confidence. By dessert, Amelia is checking her phone nervously, no doubt making mental notes to follow up on our helpful warnings. Jacob has grown quieter, his eyes tracking my movements with something like regret. When Tyler excuses himself to the restroom, Amelia seizes the opportunity, leaning across the table with wine-flushed cheeks. "I'm so happy for you, Claire." He's wonderful." I never realized. The admission costs her something, I can tell. She'd always dismissed him as just a friend, never worth serious consideration. I smile, letting genuine warmth show through the cracks in my performance. Sometimes the right person is there all along. We just don't see them. Jacob's wince is almost imperceptible, but I catch it. Another barb landing precisely where intended. When the bill comes, Tyler insists on paying, mentioning his recent promotion casually. Another fabrication, but one that makes Jacob straighten slightly. He'd always been competitive about career advancement. Outside the restaurant, hugs are exchanged with brittle enthusiasm. Amelia holds me too tight, whispering how glad she is that I'm happy, that we're still close despite everything. The guilt in her voice is palpable, and for a moment I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. In the car ride home, Tyler and I decompress, analyzing each reaction, each micro-expression we observed. This post-mortem has become our ritual, the time when we can drop the masks and be our calculating selves. "Jacob couldn't take his eyes off you," Tyler notes, his tone carefully neutral. "He's wondering if he made a mistake." I stare out the window at the passing streetlights. Good. Amelia's starting to question herself too. "Did you see how she kept touching her engagement ring when we talked about our wedding plans?" Tyler's laugh has an edge to it. "She called me wonderful, after years of telling me I was such a good friend." There's raw hurt there that mirrors my own, and without thinking, I reach for his hand on the gear shift. His fingers intertwine with mine automatically, as if we've been doing this for years instead of months. The gesture feels too natural, too comforting. Another danger sign I choose to ignore. Back at my apartment, Tyler hesitates at the door, our usual parting point. But tonight feels different, charged with something neither of us is willing to name. "Do you ever wonder?" He starts, then stops himself, running a hand through his hair. Never mind. But I know what he's asking. Do I ever wonder if we could be real? If this performance has become something true when we weren't looking? I do wonder. More often than I should. But the foundation of whatever we have is built on mutual deception and revenge. Not exactly the healthiest beginning. "Good night, Tyler," I say instead, reaching up to straighten his collar in a gesture that's become habitual. "Tomorrow we have the cake tasting with them, remember?" He nods, capturing my hand before I can pull away. For a breathless moment, I think he might kiss me. Really kiss me, not the performative affection we show in public. Instead, he squeezes my fingers gently and steps back. "Tomorrow?" He agrees, and I watch him walk to his car with a confusing mix of relief and disappointment churning in my chest. Alone in my apartment, I add tonight's observations to my mental catalog. 4 more events before the wedding. 4 more opportunities to subtly undermine their confidence, to plant doubts that will bloom into something devastating at exactly the right moment. The plan is still on track, so why does it suddenly feel hollow? I dream of Jacob that night, Not the betrayal, but the beginning, when his smile was genuine and directed only at me. I wake with tears on my pillow and anger burning in my chest. This weakness is unacceptable, not when we're so close. The cake tasting is at an upscale bakery downtown, all exposed brick and minimalist decor. Amelia is already stressed when we arrive, sharing in hushed tones that she's been trying to contact the photographer after Tyler's innocent comment at dinner. Apparently 3 other couples have filed complaints. She tells me, eyes wide with panic. What if he ruins our photos? Everything has to be perfect. I pat her hand reassuringly, the supportive sister. I'm sure it will be fine, but maybe have a backup just in case. Another seed planted, another worry to consume her thoughts. Jacob looks tired, the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that comes from constantly managing someone else's emotions. I recognize it because I wore that same expression during our last year together. Tyler notices too, sliding me a knowing glance as we seat ourselves around the bakery's tasting table. The selection of cakes is overwhelming, towering confections in every flavor imaginable. Amelia has specific ideas, of course, but Jacob seems disinterested, merely nodding at her choices while checking his phone under the table. Tyler, by contrast, is attentive and enthusiastic, asking questions about flavor combinations and design elements that have Amelia beaming. I watch them interact with a strange detachment, noting how naturally Tyler fits into the role of the engaged groom, despite it being a charade. He'd be good at this, I realize. The real thing. What do you think, Claire? Amelia's voice breaks through my thoughts. She's holding out a forkful of champagne-infused sponge cake. I accept the bite, noticing Jacob watching me with an unreadable expression. It's lovely, I tell her, though in truth I can barely taste it. But isn't Jacob allergic to the almond extract in this one? Jacob looks surprised that I remembered his minor allergy, one mentioned offhandedly years ago. Amelia's face falls slightly, evidence that she'd forgotten this detail about her fiancé. Oh, I didn't realize, she says, making a note on her planning sheet. Her handwriting is messier than usual, betraying her growing stress. Tyler smoothly suggests an alternative flavor, his hand finding mine on the table in a gesture that's become second nature. I lean into him automatically, playing my part while watching Jacob's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. When Amelia excuses herself to speak with the bakery owner about design options, Jacob finally meets my eyes directly. You two seem happy, he says, the statement somewhere between question and accusation. Tyler's arm slides around my shoulders, protective and possessive. We are. The simplicity of the response seems to unsettle Jacob more than any elaborate declaration could have. He studies us with narrowed eyes, as if trying to detect the falsehood he suspects but can't prove. I'm glad, he finally says, though his tone suggests otherwise. After everything, you deserve happiness, Claire. The sincerity in his voice catches me off guard. For a moment I glimpse the man I fell in love with, thoughtful, genuine, kind, but then I remember him telling me he loved my sister more than he ever loved me, and the momentary softening hardens again. Yes, I agree coolly. I do deserve happiness. The tension at the table is thick enough to cut with one of the sterling silver cake knives when Amelia returns, oblivious to the undercurrents swirling around her. She's chattering about fondant options and cake toppers, her excitement genuine despite the stress lines forming between her brows. As she talks, I study her, really study her, for the first time in months. My sister, the golden girl who's always gotten everything she wanted, but looking at her now, I see something I've been missing. She's afraid. Beneath the wedding excitement and picture-perfect smile, Amelia is terrified of something going wrong, of not measuring up, of failing at this marriage the way she's seen so many others fail. The realization brings no satisfaction, only a hollow feeling in my chest. This is what I wanted, isn't it? To see her doubt herself? To watch her perfect romance show cracks? Tyler seems to sense my shift in mood, his hand finding mine under the table with a gentle squeeze. The gesture feels less calculated than usual, more like genuine comfort. I squeeze back, grateful for the anchor. The rest of the tasting passes in a blur of sugar and strained conversation. We settle on a vanilla bean cake with raspberry filling, safe, traditional, expected. Just like the relationship Amelia and Jacob present to the world. Outside the bakery, Amelia pulls me aside while the men discuss something by Jacob's car. Her fingers dig into my arm with surprising strength. Is everything really okay between us? She asks, vulnerability naked in her eyes. Sometimes I feel like, I don't know, like you're still angry underneath it all. For a dangerous moment, I consider telling her the truth, laying bare all the rage and pain and calculated revenge that's been driving me for months. But the moment passes, and the mask slips back into place. Of course everything's okay, I assure her, the lie smooth on my tongue. We're sisters. Nothing changes that. Her relief is palpable, her hug tight enough to make breathing difficult. Over her shoulder, I catch Tyler watching us, his expression unreadable. 3 weeks until the wedding. 3 weeks until everything we've planned comes to fruition. 3 weeks until I can finally put this chapter behind me and move on with my life. So why does the thought bring no joy? The days blur together in a flurry of wedding preparations. Dress fittings where I stand still as a mannequin while Amelia fusses over the bridesmaid gowns. Endless phone calls about flowers and table settings and music selections. Through it all, Tyler remains by my side, the perfect, supportive fiancé, his performance so convincing that sometimes I forget it isn't real. We attend the rehearsal dinner at an exclusive restaurant overlooking the city. Amelia is radiant in pale pink, Jacob attentive at her side. To anyone watching, they appear to be the perfect couple embarking on a perfect life together. But I see the cracks that no one else notices. The way Jacob's smile tightens when Amelia interrupts him. The flash of irritation in her eyes when he forgets some minor detail she's mentioned multiple times. The slight distance between them even when they're standing side by side. Or perhaps I'm seeing what I want to see. Projecting my own desires onto their relationship. Tyler finds me on the restaurant's terrace during a lull in the festivities. I'm staring out at the city lights, a flute of champagne untouched in my hand. "Penny for your thoughts," he says, leaning against the railing beside me. I consider deflecting, maintaining the armor I've worn for months. Instead, honesty slips out, surprising us both. What if we're wrong, Tyler? What if they really do love each other? He studies me for a long moment, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. Would that change anything for you? It's the question I've been avoiding. If Jacob and Amelia truly love each other, if their betrayal came from genuine emotion rather than selfishness, does that make it any less painful? Does that make my revenge any less justified? I don't know, I admit, the words barely audible above the distant traffic sounds. Tyler's hand covers mine on the railing, warm and steady. We can stop, you know. Walk away. Let them have their perfect day. The offer is sincere, I can tell. He would abandon our plan right now if I asked, despite his own investment in seeing Amelia finally regret overlooking him all these years. Could you? I challenged, turning to face him fully. Could you really let go of everything just like that? His gaze doesn't waver. For the right reasons, yes. Something shifts between us in that moment, something fundamental and irreversible. The question hangs unspoken. What are the right reasons? Before I can respond, the terrace door opens, spilling light and noise and my sister's voice calling my name. The moment shatters, but something of it lingers as we return to the party, Tyler's hand at the small of my back guiding me inside. The wedding week arrives with startling speed. Suddenly I'm surrounded by relatives and friends, all exclaiming over both upcoming nuptials, Amelia's imminent ceremony and my own theoretical future with Tyler. The performance becomes exhausting, a constant state of vigilance that leaves me drained at the end of each day. 2 nights before the wedding, I find myself alone in my apartment for the first time in what feels like weeks. The silence is oppressive after days of constant chatter and planning. I should be finalizing our plan, rehearsing what needs to be said and done at precisely the right moment during the reception. Instead, I find myself staring at old photographs, Jacob and me in happier times, Amelia and me as children with matching gap-toothed smiles, recent pictures of Tyler and me that started as fabrication but somehow captured genuine moments of connection. My phone rings, Tyler's name lighting up the screen. I hesitate before answering, suddenly uncertain of what to say to him without an audience. "Hey," his voice is soft, intimate in the quiet of my apartment. "Just checking in. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine," I say automatically, then catch myself. "Actually, that's not true. I don't know what I am anymore." His quiet laugh holds no judgment. That makes 2 of us. We sit in silence for a moment, connected by uncertainty and something else neither of us has named. "Claire," he finally says, my name careful on his tongue. "I need to tell you something." My heart stutters, though I'm not sure why. "What is it?" "I can't go through with it. The final part of the plan." His voice is steady but gentle. "I've been thinking about it for weeks and I can't." Relief floods me so suddenly it leaves me lightheaded. "Why not?" "Because it's not who I want to be anymore." The simple honesty of his answer brings unexpected tears to my eyes. "And I don't think it's who you want to be either," He's right. Somewhere along the way, the righteous anger that fueled our deception has transformed into something else. Not forgiveness exactly, but a weariness with carrying the weight of planned retribution. What do we do now? I ask, feeling strangely untethered, as if a hurricane I've been fighting has suddenly disappeared, leaving me pushing against empty air. We tell the truth, he suggests. Maybe not all of it, but enough. To ourselves at least, the truth. Such a simple concept, yet one I've been avoiding for months. The truth about Jacob and Amelia, about Tyler and me, about what I really want going forward. Can you come over? I find myself asking. I think this conversation should happen in person. 30 minutes later, Tyler is sitting across from me at my kitchen table, both of us clutching mugs of tea like lifelines. Neither of us seems to know where to start. I'm not in love with Amelia anymore, he finally says, breaking the silence. I haven't been for a long time. That's the truth I've been avoiding. I study his face, searching for signs of deception and finding none. When did that change? A small smile touches his lips. Probably around the time you called me with your ridiculous revenge plot, and I found myself saying yes without hesitation. The admission hangs between us, both acknowledgement and question. What about you? He asks carefully. Are you still in love with Jacob? I consider the question seriously, searching my heart for the pain that's been my constant companion. It's still there, but transformed, a dull ache rather than the sharp agony of fresh betrayal. No, I realize with something like surprise. I'm angry at him, hurt by what they did. But that's not the same as being in love. Tyler nods, understanding in his eyes. So where does that leave us in our elaborate fake engagement? The question brings a surprising flutter of anxiety. I don't know. I guess we could stop pretending? As soon as the words leave my mouth, I know they're not what I want. The thought of returning to polite distance between us feels wrong in a way I can't articulate. Tyler seems to sense my uncertainty. He reaches across the table, his fingers brushing mine. What if we didn't stop? What if we just changed the parameters? My heart picks up pace, thundering in my chest. What do you mean? What if instead of pretending to be engaged, we just tried actually dating? No audience, no performance. Just us figuring out if there's something real here. The proposal is so simple, so honest after months of calculated deception, that it leaves me momentarily speechless. Is that what I want? To explore the connection that's grown between us without the framework of revenge? I think I'd like that, I admit, the words feeling like stepping off a cliff, terrifying and exhilarating all at once. The smile that spreads across his face is worth the moment of vulnerability. Not the practiced smile he uses for our public appearances, but something genuine and a little uncertain. So what do we do about the wedding? He asks, bringing us back to the immediate issue at hand. I sigh, the weight of tomorrow settling back on my shoulders. We go, we play our parts, but not to hurt them, just to get through it and move on. He nods, understanding without needing further explanation. And afterward? Afterward, I take a deep breath, allowing myself to imagine a future not defined by betrayal and revenge. Afterward, maybe you take me to dinner. A real date with no ulterior motives. I'd like that, he says, echoing my earlier words with a warmth that makes me believe this could work. That we could build something genuine from the ashes of our respective heartbreaks. The wedding day dawns bright and clear, perfect weather for the outdoor ceremony Amelia has planned. I help her dress in the bridal suite, zipping her into the gown she once showed me as a hypothetical choice for my own wedding to Jacob. The irony doesn't escape me, but the bitterness I expected to feel is muted, softened by my conversation with Tyler and the decision to let go. Are you nervous? I ask, adjusting her veil as she studies her reflection. A little, she admits, meeting my eyes in the mirror. Claire, I need to know that you're really okay with this. With me marrying Jacob. The question I've been dreading, yet it doesn't hit as hard as I anticipated. I place my hands on her shoulders, studying our reflections side by side. Two sisters at a crossroads. I want you to be happy. I tell her, the words true despite everything. I've made my peace with how things happened. Not entirely true, but not entirely false either. I am making my peace, finding my way toward acceptance one day at a time. Relief softens her features. And you're happy? With Tyler? It's not just a rebound. I think of Tyler waiting downstairs, of our tentative agreement to try something real. It's not a rebound. It's complicated but real. She turns, embracing me tightly. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened, and by the time I realized it was too late to take it back. Part of me wants to point out that things don't just happen. Their choices made day after day, betrayals built one small decision at a time. But what would be the point? The damage is done, and holding on to anger will only poison my future. Let's focus on today, I say instead, stepping back to straighten her veil again. You're getting married. That's what matters now. The ceremony is beautiful, of course. Amelia has always had an eye for aesthetics. I stand beside her in my sage green dress, holding her bouquet as she and Jacob exchange vows. Their words are heartfelt, their gazes locked on each other as if no one else exists. From my position slightly behind Amelia, I can see Tyler in the third row, handsome in his dark suit. He catches my eye during Jacob's vows, his small smile conveying understanding and support. Whatever happens next, I'm not alone in facing it. When the officiant pronounces them husband and wife, I feel a curious sense of closure. The life I thought I would have with Jacob is officially, irrevocably over. The future stretches before me, unmapped but full of possibilities. At the reception, I give my maid of honor speech, carefully written to be appropriately affectionate without crossing into territory that would make me a hypocrite. I speak of new beginnings and second chances, of the unexpected ways love finds us. As I talk, my eyes find Tyler's in the crowd, and the words take on new meaning even as I say them. Later, as the party reaches full swing, Jacob approaches me at the bar. It's the first time we've been alone together since the breakup. Thank you, he says simply, for everything today. I know it couldn't have been easy. I study him, this man I once thought I would spend my life with. He looks happy, if tired, the weight of months of tension finally lifting from his shoulders. I meant what I said in my speech, I tell him, surprising myself with the lack of animosity in my voice. I hope you both find happiness. He hesitates, then asks the question he's clearly been holding back. And you? Are you happy, Claire? With Tyler? For months I would have given anything to make Jacob believe I was happier without him, to make him question his choice. Now, I find I just want to be honest. I'm getting there, I say simply. Tyler is unexpected, in a good way. Jacob nods, something like relief in his expression. He watches you like you're the most fascinating person in the room. I should have looked at you that way more often. The admission catches me off guard, a bittersweet acknowledgement of what went wrong between us. Before I can respond, Tyler appears at my side, his hand finding mine with practiced ease. Mind if I steal my fiancé for a dance? He asks Jacob, the term fiancé sliding off his tongue with familiar ease despite our new understanding. Jacob steps back with a nod, his eyes lingering on our joined hands before he returns to Amelia's side on the dance floor. Tyler leads me away from the bar, but instead of heading to the dance floor, he guides me toward the terrace doors. Outside, the evening air is cool and fresh, a welcome relief from the stuffy reception hall. How are you holding up? He asks, his thumb tracing circles on the back of my hand. Better than I expected, I admit. Though it's strange to think that a few months ago, I was planning to ruin this day for them. Tyler's laugh is soft in the dim light. We had quite the scheme going, didn't we? Worthy of a revenge novel. I smile at the memory of our elaborate plotting, complete with fake engagement and everything. His expression grows more serious, his eyes searching mine. About that, I've been thinking. My heart stutters. Yes? It might be simpler to just stay engaged, for appearance's sake. His tone is light, but there's an undercurrent of something more serious. I raise an eyebrow. For appearance's sake? Well, that, he admits with a smile, and because I'm not entirely opposed to the idea of it becoming real someday. When we're ready, the admission steals my breath. Not a proposal, we're both too smart to make that mistake after everything, but an acknowledgement of possibility, of potential. That's quite the long game you're playing, Tyler, I say, trying to mask how deeply his words have affected me. He shrugs, suddenly vulnerable. I've always been patient. Ask anyone. I think about the months he spent as my co-conspirator, about the years before that watching Amelia from a distance. Patience indeed. Let's start with that real date you promised me, I suggest, stepping closer to him, and see where it goes from there. His smile is soft as he tucks a strand of hair behind my ear. I can work with that. Inside the reception hall, the music swells as Amelia and Jacob share another dance, lost in their own world. My sister and her new husband, building a life I was once destined to share. I should feel bitterness watching them, but instead, I find a curious peace settling over me. My revenge plot gave me something to focus on besides pain during the darkest days after their betrayal. It brought Tyler into my life in a way I never expected. And ultimately, it led me to this moment of clarity. The best revenge isn't making others suffer, it's refusing to let their actions determine your future happiness. Tyler's hand finds mine again, warm and steady. Ready to go back in? I look at him, really look at him, and see not the tool of my revenge, but a partner who understands me, who chose to walk away from bitterness alongside me. Actually, I say, making a decision that feels like the first truly honest one in months. I think I'm ready to leave. Start that next chapter we talked about. His smile tells me everything I need to know. As we slip away from my sister's wedding reception, I feel lighter than I have in months. The title of my story is changing, no longer defined by betrayal and revenge, but by something else entirely, something that feels surprisingly like hope. My sister stole my fiancé, and I nearly lost myself trying to make them pay. But now I'm walking away with something unexpected, the chance to build something genuine with someone who sees me clearly, complications and all. Not a perfect fairy tale ending, but perhaps a more honest beginning. And right now, that feels like victory enough.